If you invent a useful product, you're going to discover needs related to business if you want to scale that product to make its production more sustainable. When this happens, your org chart might be pretty organic, and that can work for a while. And especially depending on what your product is, your org chart might be organic in unique ways. If your product is especially useful, there are going to be copycats that recognize dimensions of your success and want to replicate it. The most describable dimensions of your business might be the easiest for other people to describe wanting to replicate. And there are ways to describe your business in you can describe your business in computationally intense ways. Then, one advantage of buying your product might be that it is possible to create in a given amount of time. The point of this video was to acknowledge, point out a mechanic of business that kind of just exists across types of businesses. Regardless of who understands what, it is possible to work towards goals. Some of the goals that we work towards, as described, are going to give us results that are or are not what we're looking for. Eventually, enough companies exist that it seems like a lot of them only exist because of the org chart. Competency in organized forms can produce products that people want to interact with. So multi-level marketing structures often emerge because they are describable and exist with a meme across business needs. But whichever product is being marketed is going to likely have more organic roots, depending on where they are in their relationship to the broader market. Cheers. Your job as an experienced software engineer is to predict the future, kind of because our language describes what we're trying to do, and you work on teams and help them reach their goals. So part of predicting the future is just remembering what you are trying to do and predicting that you will be successful because you make that more likely. You can describe that you've done this before, and you can also point to an example of times in the past that you've predicted the utility of a particular technology, which means publishing your projects in a state, describing what you can do with them at the time, and then waiting a while and demonstrating how whatever you've built is more useful because of the ways technology has developed. I started working on FactShift.com in college, which it's developed since. I started working on FactShift.com in college, and the concept has since changed. I can describe that my original idea has been implemented by other companies. I've also since pivoted and posted videos using the tool that I've created. Now, with Midjourney, I can describe how what I've built is useful in the context of image renderers because you can take screenshots of my app and communicate with them. The code is open source on GitHub, so someone else can extend the concept. And I've also waited to test this idea before describing it in this way. If you are a software engineer, you should be able to publish a project, wait a few years, and then describe your experience. Cheers. One of the reasons I've needed to deal with imposter syndrome is kind of a structural truth in my family, which is if I have skills at doing what I am trying to become skilled at, they would be relevant for my family's businesses. And I also need to demonstrate competency in order to get hired somewhere else. And I have demonstrated competency, and I have been hired, though the communication expectations for when people believe business happens and what makes it effective have changed with modern media. So it's kind of no one's fault that intergenerationally the ways we relate to media have changed. Also, it is some organizations and companies' faults that some media are so addictive, which obfuscates the intent of where we want to relate as humans. To describe my skills, I would need to confidently and consistently mention what I do, and also have that not sound redundant to an audience who is willing to watch some videos as long as they aren't redundant. Recently, I've been able to pay for a year of X Premium Plus, which means I can describe projects that use that time span as a point of continuity. This means it's easier for me to confidently work on projects that I believe are going to last around 8 months, which is my general motion. Generally, the work that I do has a radius of 4 months and a diameter of 8 months. This can be more efficient, more effective. It can happen quicker, though quality assurance is necessary. My 13-day cycles are a motion that helps me ensure quality, where every month I work in 13-day cycles, the 1st through the 13th, then the 14th through the 26th, with release days on the 13th and 26th anyway, and the ability to point to a consistent brand. I can offer things that others won't be able to. Also, with my 15-year software engineering career, I can make it easier for people to enter the industry while I have conversations with actual companies and actual hiring managers. These conversations will become a little bit easier for arbitrary reasons when I pay for LinkedIn Premium, and I'd like to do that for a year, so that's my next funding goal. And there are separate things related to establishing my career and financial stability as a young adult. Those are goals, and also around $5,000 is that goal. Between those pricing anchors, there's a lot of flexibility. Cheers. Currently, most people don't pay me for my work, and if I were to get hired somewhere specifically, then it would be an organization that comes from somewhere paying me for whatever. But I am still doing work. So the question is, which part of me not getting paid is capitalism? One of the challenges has been describing my skills for an audience who doesn't have consistent attention or memory, while also existing in a context where the reason why I developed these skills is not actually using my skills the ways that I hoped when I started developing these skills, which ultimately would be okay if I were allowed to describe my skills for people who want my skills. When I have had conversations, those conversations have been interrupted. When I've worked on projects that would be more stable for other people, those projects were dismantled, and I've lost months or years of progress. Part of the challenge is having that be true while also needing to focus on what else I can do. Recently, I've been able to pay for one of my services for a year, as well as another service for a year, So now I can offer a product that most people aren't going to be interested in paying for, with stability and a time dimension. I know that I personally can manage up to 30 projects well. I can probably manage more depending on what they are. But I know that I can manage 30 projects well because I have. I know that I can launch 52 projects in a week. I also know that I can rely on at least 3 of my team members per week. I believe I can train most of my team members towards my capacity. I've observed some of my team members display more capacity than I've believed I've been able to. So the physics of why I would theoretically be a meaningful business exist because I've made investments and I have a team. Also, the investments have stability a long time. Beyond that, I've been a software engineer for 15 years. I've worked for 6 companies and more than 20 humans. My major in college was learning and education studies with a concentration in applied learning science. So I believe my business processes are sound, and I've described why you might as well. Cheers.